everybody, welcome back to the Bill and Ray Show. I'm out in the torch shop to make another marble, and today's word is independence. So I've got a little tool that I made, actually just finished it a few minutes ago, and we're going to use that to help me draw some lines to make an implosion marble, because I don't really trust freehanding some design. So let's fire up and see where we can go with this. So this is the little tool that I just made up. We'll be playing with this in a few minutes. Got a couple projects to do firsthand though. So number one, the backing color I'm using, this happens to be cobalt 5. It's a very dark cobalt. So I need to pull out a little bit more glass for this. So again, stringers. Got a skinny 3mm clear rod in my left hand. Attach the color. Start off just kind of slow. And then when I'm pulling out a stringer like this, I like to have a bit of tension. And that first part may have some little anomalies to the thickness, but you get it going, you try and get a consistent tension, rock back and forth. And this changes from one color to another. So one thing is like, why use this dark cobalt instead of just black? Well, cobalt is one of the least expensive colored glass. So anytime I can use cobalt in a background situation, that's good. But also cobalt will react a little better with gold fume for whatever odd reason. So if I can remember to do it, you'll have to remind me when I get there. I need to put down some some gold before I put down the cobalt. So I'll just kind of do another little bit. That one wasn't the greatest, but talking and not paying attention. We're just sort of rocking it back and forth. Keep that transition zone in the heat. And this is working nicely. It's just a light tension. Anyway, there's that. Next little project I need to do is a ribbon cane for the background. And I'm going to use blue-green glass and Rhapsody, which is sort of a purplish glass. A couple different ways to do ribbon cane. One idea is to start with a paddle of clear glass. You can choose to be rectangular or circular, whatever you like, oblong. And then add the color, and directly on top of that the other color. The other way to do it is to make a relatively thin barrier of clear between the two colors. And that's what I'm going to do. I was going to do them stacked one on top of the other, and then I thought, no, I think I'll do it this way. So we're going to heat up a random section of glass here on whatever this rod is, 10mm maybe. So because this is just the barrier between the colors, this actually can be pretty thin. Gonna find out some of those chill marks. So the tool that I just made, this little bit of nails, sort of a little example of, do it yourself. Don't rely always on manufactured tools, because most of the time it's manufactured in someone's garage anyway. Might as well just figure out how to do it yourself. So for this ribbon cane, I'm going to build up some color on either side. This is Rhapsody. I'm just going to throw on some color here. I'll flatten that out. So this sort of style, I kind of want to keep that edge. So keep clear on the edge. And then we'll come in here with some blue-green. It doesn't turn out to be blue-green when you bury it, but it makes some interesting effects. Had some interesting effects a few marbles ago. I'm kind of curious if that will show up again in this marble. Some of these colors get very particular about deep encasement, flame chemistry, all kinds of things. This glass I kind of like because it presents some variation. So I'm purposefully just trying to not superheat it or do anything in particular. I don't know if you can see that, but it's got some variance in there already. And we'll bury that in clear. So when I do the clear encasement, I tend to go on the uphill side, if you will, and then the flame can go underneath that first layer of clear. The flame's hitting the clear rod, plus hitting the base. Gets the flow on there real nice. Now we make sure we've got that edge buried. Make sure to go all the way from the outer tip back to the clear rod that you're starting on. Seal that glass in there. And we want to be a little thicker on this clear, so we'll come back again. And don't worry about all that kind of messy looking stuff there. Once that edge is sealed in, I don't want to necessarily build up more clear glass on that edge, just on the faces of the color. Okay, This is kind of an open ribbon cane. See, this actually is a nice handle size. Add that handle, I just kind of keep rotating so they don't go too crazy. And I'll come back and heat up this messy end. Alright, then maybe heat the whole thing up a little bit. Most ribbon canes, I kind of like to have this section and start it twisting. So keeping it kind of a fat starting point. Okay, then we'll just kind of round that out. Start off with the barrel. And we'll come off one end. So twisting ribbon cane. Both hands are twisting. But one hand on the left hand side starts twisting a little faster. And starts pulling a little bit. Now again, just like the stringer, we've got to kind of figure out what size we want and get this kind of established in the diameter. And we're just going to work our way across. Right hand's still turning a little bit, left hand's turning a lot faster. Again, that flame is trying to hit on the shoulder. So this 10mm rod that I started with is actually a little section attached to an 8mm. Which is what I have in both hands right now. It helps to have the same, I think, helps me, to have the same diameter in both ends that I'm holding. And when you get to this end, the end's always going to be a little funky, because you got loss of control there of where the heat's at. And if you want, you can kind of add a little clear glass off this end, sort of pull off the tail. It will be the holding end of it. And this front part starts off a little thin and ratty. You just cut into where the ribbon cane looks like it's established a little better. There we go. That will be in the background. So this tool that I made is literally going to see its first use here, and hopefully this works. Hopefully this will make some sense as to why I did this. I don't quite trust my ability to draw an exact pattern. So I'm going to use the pattern of this bed of nails to visualize where I want to draw lines. So, to do that press onto here, I need it. It's going to be kind of off the screen. See if I can pull in from this camera to show that step. But as you can see from this pattern, I need a pretty good sized flat end to make this impression. So, we're going on our big clear rod. So, we're into summer. Today I'm recording this is actually 4th of July. I'm out here 9 o'clock in the morning trying to get this going before the day gets crazy. We've got a bunch of folks coming over for a party later today, this evening. And after food and drink and a little bit of kids stuff fireworks, we're going to go down to our local county fairgrounds where they put on a commercial fireworks show that hopefully will be pretty exciting. 4th of July has always been one of my favorite holidays growing up. My brother and I would always get a gross of firecrackers and a gross of bottle rockets, and we would spend several days, one at a time, lighting off our fireworks. On top of the family, my dad used to, I don't know, I remember we had quite a lot of sparklers and fountains, and but that was kind of back in the days where this backyard aerial sort of shots were kind of an under the table item even at the reservation fireworks stands that we used to always go to, and long before they had these big boxes, these cakes of fireworks. I have a long history of being a pyromaniac, so I love fire, I love fireworks, I love explosions. Let's see, this plate I made down here to, it's already getting hot there. Because I need to make a big flat face for this impression step. Doesn't really show it much better. Alright, got a pretty good sized gather for this. I'm going to let that stabilize a second and start heating just the front face. So I hope you all are doing well today. This one I'm really kind of going out on a limb. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I stay pretty conservative with things that I know, but we'll see where this goes. So these steps, I'm actually just kind of using the weight of the rod I'm working on. I'm not really pushing, I'm just letting that weight sit on that face. Yeah, I'll push it a little bit. So then I kind of size it up a little bigger than the pattern, so I don't have to go any larger. A really difficult trick is trying to center what this is going to look like on here. So I'm going to do kind of a eyeballing to see if I can figure out what this is going to look like. If anybody has any good tricks on how to get this initial impression centered on here, you can put a band around this circle that might, if it sticks up above the nails, that would really help, I guess. So we're just trying to get the front face glowing hot. Come down here and try and be on center. And if it's not, you cheat. You push it. Okay, well I think this gives me what I need. It went kind of off towards the edge. These are big dimples, so that doesn't actually help me a whole lot having the dimples so large, but get this guy out of my way. Get this back out here. Okay, so we want to draw lines of colored glass. So we want a pretty soft little flame. Figure out where I'm at here. Yeah, these dots got pretty deep. So I'm going to go offset here to here. And I'm going to skip one. Skip one. We're going to do orange. So because these were getting close together, I opted to not, I don't think I could have all the nails on this inner circle. So I figured I'd just draw these lines in between. And I got my stringer too hot. Now we have another special guest appearance for some glass that I did earlier with palladium. And we're going to add some points inside here. Sure how much of this I was going to have, so I went every other space. I have enough to fill in. Okay, there's my crazy pattern to implode. And you know what? I won't put this plate up here in front, but I kind of want it closer to me. So we try and keep the direct heat off of that color on the face. I'm trying to kind of heat up this whole thing. That base glass was too hot. I wanted these points for my little bed of nails to make little indents, and I wound up making much deeper indents, and I made it actually harder to see what's going on. But that will change the outcome. We'll see how that turns out. So we're trying to get all this stuff pretty hot, and then we're going to start pressing. So I don't know what this is going to look like when this implodes. But this process is always interesting. A lot of different variables happening. So I was able to make my little bed of nails off of a scrap of graphite plate that I actually cut out circles that I have as another tool that I use when I'm blowing ornaments in pixie orbs. And little projects like that, what I need is a drill press. It'd be kind of a pain to try and do that with a hand drill. And anybody that's making anything creative, start with a drill press. Drill press is one of the most basic tools. I guess a grinder, I use a grinder quite often as well. There's a couple of the most basic shop tools. It was only recently that I got a sander. There's a combination belt and disc sander. And that's quite a useful item as well. There's a ton of things you can do with the drill press. So this whole process, I guess people like to call it compression when you're talking about solid glass. This was a hollow bubble, condensing it down. People like to call that implosion. It's much the same thing. But you actually have a three-dimensional folding of the glass. The clear glass, in this scenario anyway, it is different than a hollow form. But in essence, the colored glass is staying put. The clear glass is moving around it. And in this process, when it gets down to that center, it becomes kind of a pain in the butt to get that last little center closed down. See if we can get it down to a point. May or may not cooperate. So you do these steps on the marver, and that's kind of holding the colored glass steady and allowing that clear glass to fold around the sides. Now somehow I got to get to this shape, to a cone in the background. And sometimes we have to kind of cheat. So we may actually add some clear to this pattern. So, what do I mean by that? Well, we're going to take some clear glass. And we're going to add it. Some of the steps you wish you could just really localize the heat to just that little center area. So when it gets down to where it's being pretty stubborn, one other trick we can do. So I'm just going to actually poke in here. And literally pull it out. Hopefully you can see what's happened there. And I can come back and add some more clear. Oh, we're having fun now. That's crazy. Okay, now I've still got this funny little doodad on the end, so I'm trying to rip that out of there. Hey, we're getting towards our cone shape now. But wait, we've got this whole ribbon cane we made. What are we going to do with this? Try and keep it behind the original color pattern we've got going on. So if you want this to be kind of the background. Well, we have survived so far with our game plan intact. Now, I do want to try and remember to do some gold fume before I do this backing cobalt. Okay, we're going to kind of smooth this out and then let that settle down here. So as I often demonstrate in this gold fuming step, we want that base to be fairly cool. It's kind of ridiculous when you're talking about hot glass, but all relative. Okay, once it doesn't look like it's glowing like crazy, adjust our torch. And find our little gold speck. I like to brace it against this elm arbor to want it just right on the very tip of those candles. One candle. It's like if you have a premix torch with a fine point, that actually can do fuming way better. But this works. I've learned to kind of, because on the left-hand side, you're getting a lot of torch flame that's going to want to burn off that gold. Alright, here's our gold. Now we got, it looks like black, but this is dark cobalt. And again, we're going to start up here at the edge. Just going to kind of define our front lens versus the back. Cobalt is known as an IR emitter. When it's hot, it's glowing with a lot of infrared. One of those colors that you want to make sure your glasses that you've got on are able to filter. It tends to be quite bright and quite hot. So this is kind of a more blunt tone than I work with sometimes. But this one, because of this whole central feature in the core, you're not going to really be looking all the way down for any great depth necessarily. So I'm not going to be as concerned about making this termination on the tip be super pronounced or deep. But I do want to make sure it is dark. I don't want light showing up through the bottom of this one. There was one little crease there that didn't want to fill in. So in that last step I was using quite a bit of pressure, kind of pulling off this edge, kind of trying to smear that glass to fill out all the little inconsistencies and smooth it out. And then, got that going. That worked pretty well. Silver. There's cobalt on the back. With the tooling and so on is already kind of reduced and made kind of funky. So throw some silver on top of that. Start getting a first little peek into the back of it at this stage, front of it, into the back of it. That first little loop of clear on there, make sure that end is sticking out. Don't cover up that end. I even got little bits of air trap, or maybe it's just boiled color glass, but got some little tips going on. Yeah, trying to figure out the spacing and the clocking of those little nails, embedded nails. I just drilled holes, had some nails I had on hand through the backside. They're definitely longer nails than I would prefer, but I didn't go digging too deep into my mystery bin of old bits and bobs and screws and nails. I've got some organized jars of materials, but this was definitely in the old stuff that's been hanging around for decades, literally. When I first pulled those nails out, I thought, oh, these will work. There's something even thinner diameter and shorter would probably be any better. Then the trick is you got to find a drill that's the right size. It clears the nail but doesn't leave a lot of room for slop around. And then you might wonder, well, how is that nail going to stay put in there? So if this was a longer range project, my idea was to use some high temperature red RTV and secure the backside. You're using it for such a short amount of time, it shouldn't be getting all that hot. A couple hundred degrees maybe. The nails are, eventually they're going to transmit some pretty high temperatures. But I needed to get this just going right away, so I used painter's tape. This is taped on the back side of it. That's all I did. Worked fine. So if I wanted to get fancy, I could cut each one of those nails to a precise length, put them in there, and somehow epoxy them, RTV, whatever, fix them in there. Maybe someday. Alright, I'm going to come into this edge, and I'm going to try and... You don't really need any significant amount of clear glass on top of that edge. Bring a mug out here. That Lynx flame is real real big bushy yellow flame that with clear glass it doesn't really care. This is just a bunch of fill. Oh, switch arms. Arms getting tired. Alright, that looks like enough glass. Back away from the fire. Get working, you get your face right up close to what you're working on, and some steps you don't have to be looking that close at what you're doing. It's good to change your focus, look outside, look out a window if you can. Everything is grown up. I look out this window, it's just looking into our apple tree. Can't see anything else. Look out this way. I could peek across and see over to my sister's place next door, and I'm looking out a few 500 feet or something. It's really good to get your eyes to not just always be focused inches away from your face. Let's see, what the heck is the neighbors doing over there? I can always see this little tiny, see one of their cars and part of the building. Okay, now we're coming up on adding our back side color. Because I am happy with this stage. Need a fan in here. I haven't quite transitioned to the full-on summertime work routine. I've got the air conditioner in the window over there. Oh yeah, this is cool. Me like this marble. Okay, come along that edge. Just shy, don't go over onto the clear side, just stay on the colored side. Starting off with some teal, really tealy. A little lighter shade, pretty much the same kind of glass, but this is aqua. And I don't mind leaving a little bit of gap, keeping this a touch open. You'll be able to see down to the core with that reflective silver layer. Clear glass acts as a pretty good physical barrier between colors. Some colors will bleed over on top of the clear and spread out. But most colors will kind of hold their lane. Okay, last line here is Roswell, the alien green color. Because who doesn't like aliens? Easy for me to say. I've not had a bad encounter with aliens, to put it that way. Okay, put those colors in. What am I doing here? Forgot how to run my torch. Alright, I got my tungsten rake. You have to file this tip every once in a while to keep it in good working order, because it does erode away in this process. Yep. Broke contact. That's okay. Don't panic. Try and do this all as one continuous raking operation. Get those nice flowing lines that just keep going and going. moment, that's looking pretty good. I didn't open up any tears, didn't create any bubbles, I don't think. You can see bubbles, but they're down below the underworld. Alright, settle down for a minute, get ready for the first punty. Okay, before we do the punchy, we want to make sure our flame is kind of cranked. Alright, let that punchy end kind of float through for a second. And it starts kind of solidifying and taking authority. And then you heat the other side and let it kind of float. Now, because we did this implosion, compression, whatever you want to consider it, if we put much force or try and rush this buildup of the front lens, we can actually kind of squash that pattern. And I actually want it to look that way. I kind of want to avoid the squash. So it is this building the front lens will distort pattern to some degree. So I'm trying to work with a smaller flame and just kind of build up the glass away from the core. So I'm going to try and build this up to be kind of a long, elongated lens. And then we'll try and use heat and gravity to just let the outer, more the outer layer than the inner layer starts moving and producing the desired front lens. So we're a long ways from the core is pretty stable at this point, so we'll get into some more heat. Work on cutting off our main rod. We're finally done with it. Directing the heat towards the marble side. Cutting this in like this is the graphite is sucking up the heat from the clear rod that I'm hanging on to. The marble is still pretty hot. So you're making this thermal opposition. And when we pull this apart, cut through. Sometimes I kind of work on this little pokey sticking out the end and bring it all the way back. If I don't, I wind up just kind of tearing off that whole thing. I don't know, doesn't make too much difference, but I know this, many people, it seems like a wasteful step, wasteful process, but it's oddly satisfying to me to be able to scoop off scummy looking stuff. It's like a crucible melting metal where you scrape off the slag on top. Because after all, glass is considered fluxed silica. Silica does not like to melt, so you add ingredients to it to get in between and allow that silica to flow in ways that unnatural for it. Okay, now whatever happens at this point is what happens with that interior pattern. Hopefully we don't bother it too much. Keep this heat on the outer limits. Drop this into the mold at a 45 and start getting that front shaped up. And the back side's got a long ways to move. Which, just like when we're doing that compression, the clear glass moves, gets more fluid, easier, lower temperature, whatever, than the colored glass. So the colored glass is going to be a lot stickier to its shape. Clear glass is going to get easily soft enough to move. So it's a pretty large clear lens. I always have to consider if you've got the clear lens too large, but I think this is going to work for this marble. Again, we kind of make a bit of a transition in dominance between the two punties. The new punty starts off pretty soft and wiggly. I usually like to drop it down kind of to more of a hanging posture. You stay on center a lot better. Keep spinning even when you're away from the flame. Okay. Get how the tissue would just cooperate and move, just move with heat and gravity, and it will eventually if you keep at it, but this way it's like, man, it's really hot. It doesn't seem to be changing shape much. Try to spin this up a little bit. It's Not easy to keep it on center. The country is kind of soft here still. And this is where we often get the end is not hard to move, but that diameter across the middle, it's really stubborn. So, come into the marble mold level. So we're kind of preserving that little chip for the backside. It sometimes seems kind of counterintuitive. Why would you let it hang like this in the flame? Isn't that going to stretch it out? And yes, it will to a degree, but to the extent that it moves at all, it will come back. And sometimes that little bit of a tug-of-war is actually helpful. Okay, we're going to come into the mold and spin all the way up. A bit more pressure. This is a good size, it's a good fit because the marble is just a bit bigger than the mold. I know people like their fancy marble molds. Maybe someday I'll try one out, but I've been able to use these simplistic marble molds for years, and you know, sometimes whatever tool you're using, you just get used to how does that tool work, and how do you make it work. For some people, yeah, everybody gets, I guess, I don't know about everybody, but I get enamored by tools as well. I see really cool tools, but I tend to be minimalistic and just go with, you know, some stuff that works well. I've upgraded some stuff over the years, for sure. And when that size relation is close, it made it much easier to seal up that circumference. It's already basically come together. Okay, now we're going to sit in the marble mold for a moment, chill down, try and get that core temperature to come down a little bit. You won't be able to see those colors until it cools down after it's annealed. So we'll hit this backside with a fine polish basically. I'm really happy with this marble. I just kind of went out on a limb with this project and got a lot going on later today, so trying to kind of push through this and still bring you guys something of interest and inspiration. It's funny, I thought just a few minutes ago that I had a lot of clear on the front lens, and now I would say it's just a good amount. It's not even halfway. It's close to half, but that will work. Now I can't really, I can't really tell for sure how this is all going to look, but I'm happy with the process. happy with demonstrating 4 different steps: the ribbon cane, pulling out stringers, making a tool, using it to design pattern. Not sure if that palladium is going to show any sparkles, but hopefully a few little sparkles pop up in there. Yeah, trying to switch hands like that without bumping into stuff. I think we're pretty clean on the front face. So I'm trying to just focus the heat on the clear part, a little bit on that transition edge. And we're going to come in here to the marble mold from the back side where it's solid. Spin into it, come up, and I'm looking to see, does it fill out the edges of the marble mold. And I think it did. Sometimes that front face is going to be a little short of the full diameter, but that's okay. So in these heat stages, I tend to give it a little bit of an angle down, because I know that there's a tendency, at least through my process, everybody's going to be different, but it's going to be a little bit bigger diameter than end to end. And some of that early on when I was messing around with this, I kind of came to a realization that because that clear likes to move easier than the color, it will distort more. It will expand more, so when it's hot, it fills out the mold. When it cools down, it contracts a little bit. You'd be surprised how much contraction and expansion is going on with the glass between being hot in the fire and cooling down. But I think we're good. I think I'm just going to give this one good heat. Keep rotating, keep rotating. I think that's good. So now you got to settle down quite a ways. So when you drop it, I like to transfer it in the marble mold from the bench to the kiln. There's different ways of doing this, different schools of thought, but this last punty is relatively a cold seal. I'll get this down to where it's not flowing too much. Yeah, I like that ribbon cane. That Rhapsody is kind of a smoky glass. The so-called blue-green. You get all these ethereal, wispy variants of blue, and not really a lot of green there that I generally see out of it in this kind of use. Okay, we'll set it settled it down. And then here's the wet tweezers, hit that edge, knock it off. Come back and there's a little flame there. There's one little blib sticking up, but it'll melt in. And if it takes a couple cycles, takes a little minute to get that back in, smooth out, and kind of look at the reflection. Looking pretty good. We are there, folks. Another awesome marble. Fortunately, the kiln is up to temperature, so it's going into a hot oven. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Hope you have a wonderful day. I'm pretty psyched about today. It's one of my favorite holidays of the year, 4th of July. Be fun to see some friends and family come over. Alright, into the kiln she goes. We are on to getting ready for a party. So party on, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. And we'll see you next time. Take care.